Welcome back, everybody, to the Metropolis Bulldogs Team Builder Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. Season number 2 is now in the books. It is time for the off-season as we enter the third season of the series. Last episode, we played in our very first bowl game in program history, losing to the LSU Tigers 35-40 in a very tough, hard-fought game. We started up 21-3 at one point, but LSU quickly came back and proved that they're just a more talented team. So we finished the year 8-5, certainly exceeding all expectations. I did a more detailed season recap in the last episode where we went over stats, awards, All-Americans, etc. So if you want to see all of that again, make sure to check out the end of the bowl episode, which is in the series playlist. So since that stuff is now already done, we're going to hop right into the fun of the offseason. We're not going to waste any time and quickly get on into it. So we're going to start our simulating here to the first portion, which is usually the coaching carousel. During the coaching carousel, believe it or not, as you'll see here in just a moment, we would end up getting offered an extension from Metropolis. So I guess the athletic director really likes what he saw from us, which makes sense. I mean, this is not an overly talented football team, yet we made a bowl game. We went 8-4 in the regular season, and we were very good in conference. We won some big non-conference games, and we hung in there against one of the more talented teams in the country in LSU. There are a number of big jobs that have opened up recently, including North Carolina and Florida State, among others, but our job will not be open, as we did end up, of course, signing the 5-year extension. So we're going to go through everything today. Players leaving, recruiting, position changes, training results. We're going to do it all today. Get your popcorn now. It's going to be fun. So in the coaches changing stage, we did not end up getting any changes. Obviously, Isaiah Sparks, the head coach, was extended. Both of our coordinators are back for next year, too. Capital College extended their coaches, including their head coach, Urban Meyer, and there were a number of big moves around college football. Mike Norvell, who was fired at FSU, he is now at Duke. His replacement is Charles Huff, more of an unproven commodity, who's only coached in 27 games. Matt Campbell left for a big job. He's being replaced as well. Kevin Wilson's the new coach of UNC. James Franklin was fired from Penn State. There's Matt Campbell going to Pitt. I would have expected him to go for a bigger job, like Penn State, so that's sort of a surprise. South Carolina fired their coach. Rice got Greg Schiano. Jamie Chadwell to Tennessee. So there you go, a number of big moves around the college football landscape, but nothing that overly directs us. Here at the players leaving stage, we have a number of guys graduating. Obviously, nobody is getting drafted, and we don't have anybody transferring, which is good. So let's take a look at all the players real quick who are leaving from top to bottom. This part should be pretty quick, but I did want to give everybody their farewells. Here's Tamarian Johnson, our speedy receiver, who, whenever we needed to, could make a big play. Marcus Wilkerson started on the outside this year, was pretty productive. Ford Chavez, in my opinion, is our best senior. Really going to miss him. 18 tackles for loss, a linebacker who could do it all. I wish we redshirted Miles Burrow. I don't know where he would have played next year, but he was good in year one. Didn't really get to play this season. And then Malcolm DeGray, our other starting outside linebacker, also a very talented player. Gilbert Bernard, 2-year starter at center. We've got our two safeties, Tavion Lewis and Ryan Jovanovic, two very good players. Both Lewis and Jovanovic definitely made strides in their games as their careers went along, and both of these guys are definitely going to miss. Xavier Grice, very solid power back. I think he really improved throughout his career. Jim Bean, the big fullback, made a couple of plays for us here and there. Aaron Sherman, he definitely improved. He never got a pancake in his 2-year career, but I guess he got better. Danilo Walls, very solid number 2 tight end. And then Teal Brown never really got a shot to play just because we already had big-bodied receivers who were a little bit better. So there you go. Those are the players who are going to be leaving. Unlike us, Capital College has some guys getting picked. Their punter, Taysom Robbins, is declaring. Champ Britton Jr. ends up going in the first round. So there you go. They had a first-round quarterback. I assume that's Capital College's first-round pick ever. Now we are on to the next stage, draft results and transfer requests. We'll talk about the transfers in a second. But first, we do want to see if we had anybody drafted. Drum roll, please. Is anybody from our school going to get picked? No. Who could have seen that one coming, am I right? We'll take a brief look around the rest of college football, seeing some of the big names who ended up getting drafted. Alabama had 6 first-rounders because, well, what else do you expect from Alabama? Junior quarterback Bryce Young did not declare. He is staying for his senior season. A lot of the top juniors like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson, amongst others, they all decided to stay at school. There are a mix of players in real life who just got drafted, like Sauce Gardner, Andrew Booth, all the Georgia guys like Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Trayvon Walker. And then you've also got a lot of the players from next year's draft as well, like Brian Brzee out of Clemson, Tyke Smith, Sam Laporta. All of these guys are in next year's draft as well as this year. So it's an interesting mix of players who are entering the league here at this time. Our rival Maryland had a couple guys get picked, including Raheem Jarrett and Nick Cross, both really solid. The Heisman winner, Hassan Haskins, only gets picked in the 4th round, whereas Michigan State's running back, Kenneth Walker, goes in round 1. Very interesting. Kyle Hamilton goes in the 1st round, just like real life, along with Garrett Wilson. I think Chris Olave went in the 1st round last year as well, so that makes sense. Matt Corral, I believe, was the only 1st-round quarterback. There were a number of talented QBs who got picked here, but I'm pretty sure Corral ended up being the highest one of the bunch. USC had multiple 1st-rounders, Drake London and Drake Jackson. So there you go. That's what the draft results look like here for year number 2. Transfer requests. We got a couple transfers who came in last year. Maybe we can add again with the transfer portal this year. And we don't. Just like Westlake, where nobody wanted to transfer to our school. So now we get into the fun part, recruiting, and we are in an interesting spot because there are a lot of guys we're going after, and we only have 10,000 points to spend, so we're going to have to use these points accordingly on who we think we're actually going to have a chance at getting. So currently, our recruiting class is looking really solid. We have the 39th ranked class in the country. Keep in mind, this is with the recruiting restrictions that I have been using. Yet we do still have a very talented group of players featuring a couple of 4-stars, a number of really good 3-stars, and then a 2-star player. I find it funny that our 2-star, Napoleon Abubakar, probably has more upside than anybody we've gotten so far, which is kind of ironic. He's our lowest ranked player, but I think he has a higher ceiling than any of these guys, to be honest. So let's talk about the guys who have not committed. These top 5 players we are all in major recruiting battles for, starting with Kemi Emembenigba, the dynamic, versatile chess piece from DeMatha Catholic. I think he's the most talented player on the board, and we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we did not put a ton of points into him. Mike Givens, another Washington, D.C. kid, very talented corner, 85 man, 85 zone. And I think if we do get him, he's a guy who probably could contribute very early on as a day 1 starter. Another possible day 1 starter for us could be safety Lewis Reed, another Maryland-born player. He's a gem, 94 speed. He can fly all around the field. We lost our 2 starting safeties, so he'd be a big addition. These last 2 guys are both offensive linemen. Tyler Rutledge is an athlete, but I think he probably would serve best along the offensive line. And then Ryan Neal, the highest rated player we have left, as a 76 overall. You may notice we're really not doing well in most of these battles currently. I think the only player we have the lead for is Rutledge, but with 10,000 points, we've got a good opportunity to change that. Below them, we've got some other good players with Dallas Jones, Dante Richardson, and Akshar Patel. We are leading by a lot in these, I guess, so-called battles, so we're going to give those 3 a small amount of points, and we should be able to land them. And then Thomas and May, they're just not as good as the other guys, so I'm not really as focused. So this is how we're going to allocate our points. I realize we're not going to get all 5 of the 5 players who we are in big recruiting battles for, so instead I'm going to divvy up the points into the 3 guys I want the most. Kemi Emembenigba, who's going to get 4,280. Lewis Reed is getting 2,350. And Neal is getting 3,300. These are the 3 best players that we are going after currently. I think Emembenigba is my number 1 priority, so that's why he's getting the most points. And then after him, I think it's Reed and Neal. Givens and Rutledge are both good players, but I just don't think we need them as much as those top 3 guys. I did decide to give them each 5 points just to leave the door open in case something weird happens in those recruiting battles. As for Jones, Richardson, and Patel, as I said, I'm going to give them a small amount of points just because I want to ensure to them but that we do want them. So Jones is going to get 10, Richardson will get 30, and Patel will get 20. So ideally, we're hopefully going to get all 3 of these guys down here, and then 2 of the 3 big guys who we went after with Emembenigba, Reed, and Neal. So here we go, time to simulate the moment of truth. Will we get the guys we wanted? I think this looks pretty good if I do say so myself. We get Lewis Reed, Kemi Emembenigba, Dante Richardson, and Dallas Jones. So 4 of the 6 players I was really trying to get. Ryan Neal, unfortunately, goes to Minnesota. I wanted to get him, but I guess Minnesota just happened to put more into him. Akshar Patel going to Vanderbilt is really the only major surprise here. Vanderbilt was never really in the battle for him, but I guess he's going to be a Commodore. Mike Givens and Tyler Rutledge, we wanted to get them, but we just didn't have enough points. Givens is going to West Virginia, and Rutledge is headed to Penn State. So overall, I would consider this a win. I wanted to get all 3 of Jones, Patel, and Richardson because I was expecting to get all 3. We only land 2 of them. Not the end of the world, but I would have preferred to get the trio of them. And then we got 2 of the 3 guys who we put a lot of points into, which ultimately is about what I was expecting. We finished with a top 25 class, the #1 overall class in the American Athletic Conference, so that's pretty cool, if I do say so myself. We're going to take a look at the recruiting board, see how well we did in these battles. Lewis Reed, we won by 9,000. So Navy just took themselves out of the battle. We didn't have to give him anything, and we would have gotten him, which is kind of unfortunate. Richardson, we obviously got by a lot. Akshar Patel, we lost out on by 90. 90! All we needed to put in was 90, and we would have got him. Unfortunate. So he is going to Vanderbilt. I really feel like we could have landed him. We should have landed him, but oh well. Kemi Emembenekbo, we won by 3,800. So again, we barely had to put in any points for him, and we still got him. Ryan Neal, we lost out on by a lot. Minnesota put in their whole pot to get him. So looking at it now, we shouldn't have really put points into Neal, Reed, or Emembenekbo. We could have used those on Givens or Rutledge, who obviously went to West Virginia and Penn State, respectively. But overall, this is a good class. 17 players on scholarship. We finished up with 2 4-stars, a number of 3-stars, and 1 2-star. We also are going to add plenty of walk-ons as well. We'll take a look at them in just a second when we look at our overall class ranking. So overall, this is a pretty talented group of players. In my Westlake Dynasty, the Season 2 recruiting class, in my opinion, was maybe the most influential and important recruiting class of the series. So hopefully this one can live to the billing as well. We finished with the 21st overall class in the country with 3 4-stars. I think I accidentally said 2, but we ended up with 3. Maurice Utley, Didi Santander, and Kemi Emembenekbo, all 4-star players. A majority of the guys we added are 3-stars. Most of the walk-ons we got are wide receivers. Andrews is a walk-on. Howell is a walk-on. Cannon, the center, is a walk-on. And then as we look at the 2-stars, pretty much all of these guys, except for Abubakar, did end up being walk-ons. We end up with 24 players total, 7 walk-ons, 17 on scholarships. So I feel like I kind of fumbled it during signing day. I should have used my points better, but we got 2 of the 3 guys I really wanted, so I can't really say I'm all that upset by it. If only I had known that we didn't need to give points to Emembenekbo or Reed. But you get some right, you get some wrong. So now it's time for the position changes stage of the offseason. Emmanuel Cortez, now our highest rated player. He is a senior. Everybody's a year older, which is sort of crazy to think about. So Kemi Emembenekbo, I'm going to move to wide receiver. We're going to play him at both wide receiver and running back. I'm not sure how much he's going to play as a freshman or if we're going to redshirt him. CL Frost also goes to receiver. He's a 76 over there. So we now have Cortez, Frost, Emembenekbo, Osiris Young, Richardson. Our receiving core is looking really, really nice for the future. Curtis Neal is going to slide over to the outside. We mainly run a 4-3 defense. We lost both of our starting outside linebackers. And, well, I feel like it would make more sense to have Neal start there over one of our raw freshmen. Jared Martinez is going to move over to center. He's going to start at that position this upcoming season, most likely. Lewis Reed, I'm going to move over to strong safety. He goes up 1 to a 75. We'll see how he does there, trying to replace Ryan Ivanovic. And then our 2 athletes, Elliot Hughes and Maurice Utley. Both of them are offensive linemen. Hughes is going to play left tackle, where he is a 67 overall. Whereas Utley will play left guard. He is unfortunately only a 66 there. Maybe a little bit worse than his 4-star talent suggests, but still very talented player. So that's how we're going to do our position changes here. Nothing overly major, but still pretty solid. So now we get to the fun part of the offseason, training results, where everybody gets better. So right off the bat, Emmanuel Cortez is an 85. Highest rated player in school history. Manuel Castillo is an 80. Don't forget about Jonathan Roberts, though. He's a 78. Roberts is fully healthy, so now we might actually be able to have the quarterback battle that we wanted to have last season. Victor Adams is an 82. I wish Donovan Barrington went a little bit higher. He's only a 72. At wide receiver, Osiris Young is a 78. His catching goes up by 4, so hopefully he does not drop as many passes as he did last year. Tavion Smith-Gardner is a 78. Here's a look at the offensive line. For the most part, everybody goes up between 4 and 6. I'm pretty sure all of our starters went up by 4, except for Astronfield, who only goes up 3. On the defensive line, our 3 main defensive ends are between 77 and 78 overall. Hasil Diamantopoulos, he's going to be a starter this year as a 76. Roberson only goes up 3. He's a 77. Neal is a 75. The cornerback room is raw but young, and I'm curious to see how that position shakes out. And we also have 2 80 overall kickers for what it's worth, so I guess that's fun. Next up, we've got the least fun part of the offseason, where I am going to have to cut players. We're going to have to narrow down our roster from 81 to 70. So I had to make some tough decisions here, but I think we ended up making the right moves. We cut all of the walk-on receivers. Simply put, I don't really need these guys. So we're going to cut all 4 of them. We only have 7 receivers currently on the roster, but I believe 4 of them are freshmen. Lennon Maverick, a senior center, will be cut. Parker McMahon, I believe he was the starting right guard in year 1. He will end up being released. I just don't really need him. We have plenty of linebackers, so I'm going to cut Gabriel Fernandez. Barrett Richards, walk-on corner. He's going to end up getting released. Going to cut a couple running backs, Marquardis Levereaux, and then Tutu Ardavius III. Tutu's a 79, one of our higher-rated players, but he didn't play last year. We just don't really need him. And then the last player will be guard Jaco Jawanamain. He wasn't going to start this year, and he is a senior. So I cut some guys I didn't really want to cut, and there are some like 40 overall walk-ons that I was forced to keep, which is kind of unfortunate, but oh well, it is what it is. We made all the big conference changes last offseason, so we're not really going to do anything there. And now that will bring us to the start of season number 3. So that's going to wrap up the offseason. Let me know what you thought of how we did down below in the comment section. Next episode, we're going to go through red shirts, depth charts, custom schedules, custom recruits, all of that. I am making some slight changes to the formatting of the series, which I will explain at the beginning of the next episode, so make sure to stay tuned for that within the coming days. Make sure to like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Go Dogs. Peace out.